In today's video, I will be showing you guys how to make this senator placket. It's actually a very simple placket, right? The only difference is the tip on the side, just that black tape on the side. That's the only part that's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to take you guys through the process of making this step by step. So all you have to do is just to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're yet to subscribe to the channel. You just have to put the button after you have attached it to your board eyes. So I just put the button in order to show you guys what the final result is going to be. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you guys what that is going to be. So let's get into the tutorial step by step. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using. As you guys can see, the very first thing you're going to do now is to cut out your interfacing, which is the interfacing that will be in the fabric in the placket itself. So now the length of the placket is going to be 16 inches plus the folding allowance on the upper side and on the down part, right? And the total wideness of the placket is going to be 1 inch. Mostly my placket is not usually more than 1 inch or 1.5 maximum, but I like to use a tiny placket for senator because it's actually come out very well. So my placket's measurement is going to be 1 inch. So now I'm going to cut 1 inch out of the interfacing now, 1 inch wideness by 16 inches length. So I'm just going to simply tear it out, just like this. You can see that. I'll just tear it out, and I'm going to measure my 16 inches right here. You can see that. If you're doing for a child, it should not be up to maximum of 11-12 inches for children, depending on their height. Actually, you can foresee that if you're looking at them, you can know how long the placket should be. So now on the gummy part of the placket itself, I'm just going to place it on the fabric. Make sure there's a space at both sides, right? Make sure there's a space at both sides so that you can have something to fold on top of the interfacing. So I'm just going to simply iron this right now on the fabric. You can see what I'm doing. Just iron it and make sure it's actually glued to the fabric itself very well. You can see that. You can see that. And now all you have to do now is to simply cut out the fabric itself. Make sure you have a space on the sides. You can see what I'm doing. Just cut it out. So after cutting it out, the next thing you're going to do now is to simply fold the fabric like the normal way you're going to fold your placket, right? Simply fold the fabric on top of the interfacing and make sure each of the sides are as sharp and as possible. This is what you're going to be having. You can see what I have. So inside of this, I did not add any gum to it. I just fold it normally. We are going to add an Emmy gum underneath it, but that will be later. So I want you guys, we're going to do this step by step. So I want you guys to pay attention. The next thing we are going to do now is the black tape that's going to be on the side. So now this black tape is still what we're going to be using to stitch our main placket to the bodice itself. So now the taping is going to be a little bit wider. So I will be marking 3 inches wideness here. You can see 3 inches. And the length is going to be at 16 inches, which is our main placket measurement, 16 inches. So I'm going to mark 16 inches at this place also. You can see that. So I'm going to connect these two together. So I'm going to simply cut that out. So after cutting it out, this is what we're going to be having. You can see this. So the next thing we have to do now, this is exactly the result we are going to get, we want to get. So there will be something folding on the side, as you guys can see here. You can see that. So now, before I fold the black fabric, let's fold the arrow on the placket itself, that tiny arrow on the placket. So now the arrow is going to be at a total of 3/4 of an inch, so that there will be a space on the that will reflect the ox blood color, right? It's going to be 3/4 of an inch. So now I cut a piece of black fabric that I will be using for the arrow. It is at 2.5 inches wideness and the height is 2 inches. You can see that. So now on that make sure you're working with the right and the wrong of the fabric. So on that side that has the 2.5 wideness, I'm going to fold it backward a little bit. I believe you guys can see this clearly. I'm going to fold just a tiny part of it in the front. I'm going to fold it backward. Let me zoom in closer so you guys can see this. Okay, you can see that. I'm going to fold it backward a little bit. You can see that. And I'm going to simply iron it down. Just iron it down. You can see what I have. After ironing it down, all you have to do is just to fold one side backward like this and simply iron that part down. You can see. So after folding one part down, you're going to fold the second one also. Fold it down just like this. You can see that. Take your time, make sure it is as balanced, and it has to like very close to one another, each of the pleats. So you're going to simply iron it down also. Oh, I already broke that. Sorry about that. I will refold this, fold it back again and iron it. So what I have. So this is exactly what you're going to be having. You can see that. You can see how close they are. So this is what you need at the back side, and this is this thing we're trying to get, so that we're going to have something that will puff out at this area. You can see that. You can see what we're trying to get here. So now this is the part in which you need to pay attention at. It is very, 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 very important. So now, the first thing we're going to do now is the arrow itself, right? Is the arrow itself. But first, let's fold out this black. So now at this black, all you have to do is just to fold a tiny pieces of the side of the black. The maximum you're going to fold inside shouldn't be more than half of an inch. You can see that. You're going to fold in half of an inch on the edge of the black fabric. You can see that. Just fold it all up. Take your time. Just fold it. You can see that. Just take your time. Make sure what you fold is as smooth as possible. So after folding that edge, you're going to put hemming gum underneath that part, because it has to be as sharp as possible, because this is what is going to reflect on the side of the placket itself, right? So it has to be as sharp as possible. So I'm going to put an hemming gum underneath this. Just the tiny pieces of hemming gum is okay, just inside of here. This is exactly what we're trying to get, but first put an hemming gum inside of that place, so that you're going to have something in order to make it as flat as possible. So I'm going to cut the hemming gum into two, and also on the side that will be on the placket itself, I'm going to put an hemming gum on that one also. So I'm going to do that and show you guys what that is going to be before we join it together. We are not going to be using the machine to join this, so you have to pay attention. If you're liking this video so far, make sure you give it a thumb up. So after putting an hemming gum, this is what we're going to be having on the edge. You can see how sharp that edge will look. That's what the hemming gum is going to do for us. So now make sure you place this like this. Make sure the hemming gum, the folded part is facing up. Also, this one, I did not put an hemming gum on one side and I added an hemming gum on the other side. You can see that we necessarily don't need to put the hemming gum on the second side, and this is going to be here, just on top of this. You can see that. And make sure the lines in which you want to get on the black is reflective like that. The size in which you want is what you're going to be getting. So first and foremost, on the black fabric itself, on the arrow in which we did, I'm going to trim this out. You can see I'm going to trim this out a little bit. So now this arrow is supposed to come from the inside. So I want you guys to pay attention here. This arrow is supposed to come from the inside, from this side like this, in order to come to this side. So now all you have to do now is simple. In order to get that arrow out, I'm going to put an hemming, just a tiny piece of hemming gum, as you guys can see here. And I'm going to place the placket on top of it, exactly where you want the arrow to fold, and I'm going to simply iron it down. Make sure you press out some steam so it can go straight under the gum and melt it. You can see that. You can see what I will be having like this. You can see how how sharp it stay. So now I can simply fold it backward. You see that? And I'm going to iron it down also. You can see. So you see what I have now. You see how sharp that edge come out. So after that is done, the next thing you need to do now is to simply place this on your black fabric. Now you have to make sure what you are taping on the side is exactly the same all the way down, because it has to be as straight as possible. You see that? Make sure the black that is reflecting on the side is as straight as possible. You can see that. You can see that. You see what I'm doing? It has to be as tiny, depending on what you want. If you want it wide, you can do a wide one. If you want it tiny, you can just go for a tiny one, right? But I do believe that the tiny one usually come out really beautiful. So now all you have to do now is to put an Emmy gum at this back part. You can cut your Emmy gum into 2 pieces and simply place it like this. And make sure the spacing which you want to reflect at the outside is the one you are leaving without the Emmy gum. You can see that. Just pay attention, and you're going to simply place this and make sure this actually cover up the entire gum itself. You can see that. You can see that. See what I'm doing? Make sure it's cover up. I'm going to drag this down a little bit. You can see that. So in order to be able to get the balancing, I'm just going to simply turn it. You can see what I'm doing. This part, you have to take your time and make sure the side that you're showing off is exactly the same measurements with what you're folding downward. You can see that. See what I did? So you're going to use your hand to control each of the sides. You can see me. Control each of the side and simply iron it down. You see that? You can see, and simply iron it down. You can see that. Take your time, make sure it is as balanced as possible. If it's not balanced, you can simply remove it and do it again till you get that tiny black line. You see what I have here? See how tiny and beautiful it's come out. So now I'm just going to trim out this excess fabric. I really don't need that much, even in the first place, but you understand. All right, so I'm just going to cut that part out, and I'm going to trim out this part also, so that we have something to fold. You can see. So here I'm going to open this side so I can fold the tip of the placket itself. So here you can see I'm just going to fold this inside just a little bit, and I'm going to iron it. Going to iron it down. You see that? After ironing it, I'm going to be able to fold this one also inside. You can see that. And I'm going to iron both of them down so it's going to hold the fabric itself. See what I did there? That's the upper part. That's the part that you're going to stitch to your neck area. You can see. You see what I have? How smooth that is. Also the down part. But before we do the down part, I'm going to, our neck opening, my neck opening is going to be 7 inches. That's the slit on the center neck. It's going to be 7 inches. So I'm going to simply, at that 7 inches, I'm going to cut out an opening at that place. That 7 inches area, I'm going to simply trim that part out. You can see. And I'm going to cut it down. You can see what I'm doing. I absolutely don't need that part, so just trim that part out. You can see that. So this down part also, I'm going to simply trim it out. You can see, and I'm going to fold this side inside. So that will be the down part of the placket itself. I'm going to iron it. See that? So after that is done, you see what I have here? You see how sharp that edge is? So after that is done, the next thing I'm going to do now is to simply fold this inside. So this is what we're going to be using to key in our plackets. Depending, you can do this design for your plackets, a normal fold whereby you're just going to place it and key in your placket, or you can do the turn up for the plackets. There are two different ways in which you can fix your plackets to your senator outfit. I did the previous one, and I think I've done this one also in my advanced class. So in case you want to join the class, a link will be in the description below, so you guys can simply enroll. Or if you click the link in the description below, you're going to see beginners, intermediate, advanced to professional class also, so you guys can enroll in that class. So this is what you're going to be having. Take your time to give it a final ironing, and you can simply join it to your placket and simply fix your center button, and your placket is ready. You see what I have so far, how beautiful that is. See how smooth and how sharp the result I'm having here. So that's about it on this video. If you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are yet to subscribe to the channel. There is a video on the screen right now, as you guys can see. I personally handpicked that video for you guys to go and watch next. It is how to cut a senator outfit. See you on another video.